We're delighted to have this opportunity to provide you with an introduction to the Presbyterian Church of South Sudan. My name is Reverend Debbie Broxma, and I'm the Africa Area Coordinator for Presbyterian World Mission. PCOSS has a long history with Presbyterians in South Sudan, dating back to 1900. The mission work was holistic, emphasizing evangelism, education, and medicine. Its fruit was the establishment of the Presbyterian Church of South Sudan. Moderator, Right Reverend Peter Guy, and General Secretary, Reverend John Yor, lead the church, and we have 9 mission co-workers serving in South Sudan. Christy Boyd, Lynn and Sharon Candle, Jim McGill, Christy and Bob Rice, Nancy and Shelvis Smith-Mather, and Lisa Wagstaff. I'm sure most of us feel that our ministries are severely handicapped because of the pandemic. Whether it be evangelism, addressing structural racism, or visiting the homebound, it's difficult to engage in ministry. Our current challenges are real, but can you imagine what our church life would be like if we were trying to serve in a context of 6 decades of almost constant civil war and conflict? This has been the situation for our Presbyterian siblings in South Sudan. Many seeds of conflict, such as unequal development, were sown in the era of British and Egyptian colonial rule. From independence in 1956, there were only 11 years of relative peace before the eruption of civil war in 1983. Several layers of underlying issues caused the conflict. Racial tensions between blacks and Arabs, economic contentions surrounding control of the Nile and oil fields, the historical marginalization of the South, and imposition of Sharia law on the predominantly Christian South. Faced with a liberation movement in the South, the government of Sudan used a divide and conquer strategy to pit ethnic groups against each other, resulting in a division of the movement. This strategy has continued to have a lasting impact on the population. The most recent civil war, which had roots in these ethnic and political divisions, erupted less than 2 years after the South received independence in 2011. Although a shaky peace deal was signed earlier this year, intercommunal fighting has escalated. This violence, which has caused nearly 40% of the population to flee to refugee or internally displaced camps, has had brutal social and economic consequences, including traumatization of the population, severe hunger, and the collapse of already grossly inadequate social services, such as schools and health facilities. While the challenges for PCOSS have been mammoth, we want to provide you with a taste of the courageous work that they are doing to be the very hands and feet of Jesus Christ in this conflict-ridden country.
The Presbyterian Church of South Sudan, or PCOSS as we refer to it, is among the largest denominations in South Sudan. It is hard to know the actual membership because so many people have fled from the violence to settle in refugee camps in neighboring countries. Others are displaced within the country but lack the means to communicate. Due to the fighting in 2013, PCOSS itself was forced to relocate its headquarters from Malakal to Juba. The Presbyterian Church of South Sudan is very involved in advocating for peace. Its leaders play an active role in peace negotiations between the warring parties, often through ecumenical platforms like the South Sudan Council of Churches. The council is made up of 7 denominations, and the moderator of PCOSS, Reverend Peter Guy, just completed his term as chairperson and is still on the executive council. Reverend Guy was among those that accompanied President Kiir and his rival Riek Machar, who is now first vice president, in their visit to the Pope. Through its various departments, the PCOSS is involved in mediation, trauma healing, and reconciliation at the grassroots level and, through the Council of Churches, at the highest national level. PCOSS understands that the future of the church and the country relies on the healing of all wounds, mental, emotional, and physical. PCOSS connects our South Sudanese partners with the Office of Public Witness in Washington and the Presbyterian Ministry at the United Nations in New York. In this way, we can use our partners' voices to advocate for peace in South Sudan.
During the visit of the UN Security Council to Juba, as we were talking with the members of the Security Council, I happened to talk with Ambassador Samantha Power. And then Ambassador Samantha Power quoted Ryan's role, saying his impact is felt. They feel it because he speaks with love and he gives the message about the plight of people of South Sudan. So I want to reassure the role of the Presbyterian Church in the United States through the service of in the nation that we are grateful. People of South Sudan are grateful for what he's doing. The job he's doing is like the voice of the voiceless there. So the love is putting in his service, the courage is putting in his service to speak out there. Not very loud, but simple, lovely, gets the message through. And these guys in the United Nations are feeling it. They get the message. So I'm very grateful for the service of people of the Presbyterian Church of USA for what they are doing for the people of South Sudan.
As in most wars, women and children are bearing the brunt of the violence in South Sudan. Widespread conflict-related rape continues to this day, yet women are not invited to the table where peace is negotiated. And so, for their voice to be heard in protest of the ongoing violence and pray for peace, the women organize monthly fasts and ecumenical marches that end with a worship service. The events are coordinated through the Women's Desk of the South Sudan Council of Churches, and members of the PCOSS Christian Women Fellowship are active participants and notably present. The different denominations take turns to host the event. Pastor Pasca Asia Nimriano, who is now the director of the PCOSS Women's Desk, shares.
This is true, we cannot deny. Some of the women have been raped, some of the girls have been raped, some of the women have been killed. They were killed with all their children. You found that the door for that family is closed already. Some of the women, they want to rescue the body that has been down so that they can put a bed sheet so that they can cover. But they were killed. Why do you do that one? You see, because women have a heart, he don't have a side. If an enemy or what, he don't have a side. Because he is the one who has given a back to that man or to that child. So woman is a peacemaker because he doesn't want to see something which is happening. Most of the people who are suffering, it is women and the children. They really, when you see women really, they are suffering because they have not enjoyed the fruit of this country. Even during the referendum, it is the woman who vote very high. 60% of the women who vote for the referendum for the independence of this country. Even some women, they deliver on the sending on the line. Even they are pregnant, they went and they deliver on the voting. So you find that now people are turning to women. Women have not kept silent. Woman is still giving her voice. That is why South Sudan Council of Churches, she brought under the leadership of Agnes Wosu, she's coordinator, the coordinator program of SCC, trying to bring all women together. So every month, people march on the road, they pray for the old situation that's happening in the South Sudan. And then they will choose one church, they will go to that church, and then they will have a prayer. When the children come, they sing a song, really, everybody cry. The sign, the song, the way, how they are singing, it is so that really the children have a role. If really they should have a time to live in a peace, they can do more. They can do more. Even people say that let them go around all the churches what singing they are singing, what dancing they are dancing. They should go to other churches so that the other children also should copy from them, because they are carrying the message of peace, a message of being together, a message of living, fighting, so that we can build South Sudan that really the children can enjoy. You see, the children really need to join the fruit of their country.
The Presbyterian Church of South Sudan believes that access to education can help address the country's greater problems. Reversing the current trend, education would reduce poverty and disease, rebuild trust among people, establish equality in society, and increase participation in democratic processes. Therefore, the Church sees the provision of quality education that instills Christian values in South Sudanese children as a matter of urgency. In the South Sudanese context, pursuing an educational ministry is not only a pressing necessity, but also a great challenge for the Church. Years of conflict have left generations of citizens unschooled. 70% of teachers are untrained and unpaid for their services. There is a dramatic increase in the number of children aging out of the primary school range. Over half of the country's current primary and lower secondary school-aged children are not attending school. There is a high educational gender disparity among those who are enrolled, particularly in secondary schools. Because factors impeding education are interrelated, the Presbyterian Church of South Sudan partnered with the PCOSS to develop the Comprehensive South Sudan Education and Peace Building Project, or SSEPP. Through the project, we support the Church's education department in building foundations at all levels to strengthen a child's potential to succeed. Thanks to the teacher training component of the SSEPP, we equip teachers not only with methodology and classroom management skills. They also learn how to provide psychosocial support to children and work within traumatized and conflicted communities. The teachers are further helped to understand the trauma they themselves have experienced, its impact on their teaching, and how to reduce it. The SSEPP offers scholarships to a church-related teacher training college and other training institutions for teachers holding the prerequisite secondary school certificate. For children to thrive and take advantage of the opportunity to learn, their environment must be safe and conducive to learning. Parents are called upon to embrace education as an extension of the home and partner with the school at every stage. The SSEPP brings together parents and the larger community, including civic, church, and traditional leaders, in parent council trainings and meetings. We journey with them in conflict resolution and walk with them as they prioritize educational goals and set agendas for action. To ensure continued success, we follow up with the parents' councils on the implementation and evaluation of their programs. Two key principles guide us in the SSEPP. We accompany people, not do it for them, and we work on invitation by the community to be a part of their journey. The most important constituent in any educational effort is the learner. What happens in the classroom, as well as before and after school, is of concern. Through the SSEPP, we try to provide every opportunity for learners of all ages to be all that God would have them to be. Quality teaching in a classroom that provides shelter from the sun, rain, and wind is just the starting point. We want to develop children's capacity and help them reduce their lifetime of traumatizing experiences. trauma healing jamborees, after-school capacity building programs, and girls' empowerment gatherings are giving them the chance to share what is on their hearts, feel safe, be encouraged, and know that they are made in God's image. The Presbyterian Church of South Sudan understands that if peace is to prevail in the country, it is not by a decree of the government. The hearts and minds of citizens, along with opportunities, are the key components, all embedded in unceasing prayers. I witnessed this the day when Rebecca and her fellow scholarship recipients were making plans for traveling together to the teacher training college. Rebecca's nursing baby, who would join the group on their journey, was being passed from one pair of arms to another, with each of Rebecca's new classmates claiming ownership of the child and pledging to be a part of the village necessary to raise him. Forgotten were their different ethnic grouping and traumatized history. Instead, they looked toward the future as a group. For them, opportunity for all was the key, the opportunity to help shape South Sudan's future as teachers of the country's youngest generation. Thus, within the Presbyterian Church of South Sudan, building sustainable peace has become the work of every church leader and pew member. It is integrated into every area of ministry, from evangelism to civic responsibility and from trauma healing to subsistence farming. Through the South Sudan Education and Peace Building Project, we enable the church in this undertaking by providing facilitation and resource materials, and by incorporating peace education into the project's overall program of activities.
This is the demonstration form for the school to teach our children, and also the teachers at the same time also participate in this. So we have a part of the teachers where the teachers come and do some clearing so that the students just watch and see them. They encourage them so that they will know that it is a part of education also. It's not for those who are not well educated and those who are in the village.
Most of them, they don't know how to farm because during those days, the time they have grown up, people were in the wars and they could not be able to farm. People are running up and down. They were not even being trained at that movement. Then the only solution for them to go to run to the other country for in a refugees, or to go and mine like in the other area.
Here in church, we find that there is a gap, which is we need really to fill it in the community. Because if the community are not feeding themselves, it means that there is no future. So always we will be depending on emergency support. Here actually are not one tribe who are learning in this school. We have some Denka, we have Jie who are also learning from this school. So when we bring people from Murle, we bring people from Jie, we bring people from Kashipo and be integrated in this school. People, they will learn peace, how people live together. People also will depend on cultivation, not on cattle only. And also people will be able to live harmony together and live in town. So this actually in the future will be one of the centers that can bring all those communities in one place. That is the hope, that idea of South Sudan Peace Education Program. That really is something that brings people together.
To strengthen the church's ability to undertake peace-building initiatives, PCOSS identifies community leaders to be trained at the International Resource Center for Civil Leadership, better known by its acronym RECONCILE. RECONCILE was created in 2003 by the former New Sudan Council of Churches as a faith-based ecumenical peace-building organization for communities to heal from their brokenness after 5 decades of war. Starting from its center in Ye, South Sudan, and reaching out across the nation and into neighboring countries, RECONCILE equips grassroots, religious, and government leaders to restore hope and rebuild lives by means of 3 different programs. Through the Leadership and Governance Program, with its comprehensive curriculum of skills-enhancing courses, RECONCILE plays an intricate but often quiet role as these leaders learn how to negotiate clashes from among clans, political factions, military forces, and government leaders within embattled communities. In a variety of activities, from personal to peer counseling to sports activities and reconciliation forums, the psychosocial rehabilitation program restores individuals and interpersonal relationships that have endured emotional wounds from conflict. The Reconcile Peace Institute offers a comprehensive 3-month training to recommended leaders to equip them with vital skills necessary for facilitating trauma recovery and conflict transformation in their places of influence. RPI's instructors include highly trained experts from Africa, Europe, and the United States of America who are committed to contextualizing their knowledge in a manner which is accessible and practical. As a result, graduates become part of a vast network of peace builders across the country and various ethnic groups, socioeconomic backgrounds, genders, ages, and educational levels. As a longtime PCUSA partner, Reconcile has also trained Presbyterian leaders to better address healing within their own communities and congregations. Reverend Ojulu Omo is one of them. While he was taking his final course at RPI, his village was attacked, home raided, cattle stolen, and father shot. Enraged family members and villagers considered a revenge attack and asked him to return to protect his family. Ojulu, however, knew that revenge would only temporarily satisfy his anger, but lessons learned at Reconcile could change his community forever. 4 years later, he is an ordained Presbyterian pastor who's worked extensively in his community, resolving conflict and counseling war survivors in the refugee camps of Gambela, Ethiopia, where many are traumatized. Reconcile's peace-building efforts have become widely recognized from state officials and ecumenical platforms to diplomatic circles and international news agencies. We're thankful for the active participation of the PCOSS in all 3 programs of Reconcile, and for the church's contributions in the forms of personal resources through Reconcile staff and Board of Governance.
I hope you're as inspired as I am by the courageous women and men who lead these efforts of the Presbyterian Church of South Sudan.